Good morning. It's Cami. How are you doing? I'm here to talk to you today about what we've been hearing about in the news, which everybody is calling the Great Resignation. And that is that a lot of people are quitting their jobs. They're quitting their jobs and they're starting their own companies or they're getting other jobs. And it's a really kind of a big deal right now. People are having a hard time holding on to talent. So a couple of weeks ago, I guess it's been almost a month now, I went to a conference, and while I was there, it was a conference of agency owners, public relations agency owners, and a lot of the conversation was around this, like how do you hold on to your best employees, and how do you, set things up so that you give them a great amount of latitude. So that is one of the things that I know that employers are definitely worried about is how do they hold on and attract talent. And then for those of us that are already consultants and have our own agencies and have already been doing this for some time, how does that impact us as well? So there's kind of two sides to this coin, the employee side and the business side. So I really wanted to talk about both of these things and just sort of give you some ideas about where we're at. So no matter where you are, whether you are a person that's working for someone else and you're thinking, I'm looking for a change or I want something different, or you are already a consultant doing this on a regular basis, looking for work with businesses as a independent consultant or freelancer, or you are a maybe a little bit further along and you have maybe a small business or agency in my case. So I'll be talking about agencies because that's what I know. You have a small organization and you need to hold on to your employees as well. So let's just get right into this because I'm really interested in how this came out. So in 2020, Upwork, which is a online freelance business, you can go find freelancers to do work for you, and I've used them. It's a great service. It's a great way to find very specific types of talent. Like, so if you're looking for somebody to do a specific thing, like I'll give you an example. For me, I used for my online course last year. I built it on this tool called Kajabi. And as I was getting closer to, launching that, I realized that I knew how to use the tool, but I didn't have time to get it all done. So I went on to Upwork and actually searched for Kajabi and found a specific contractor that knew that platform already, right? So I went there and got that talent from Upwork, right? So there are these marketplaces for talent that are out there that you can find exactly what you need and hire that talent. So they've got obviously a big they're in this race in a big way. Upwork is. So they did a survey. They've been doing a survey every year called the Freelance Forward Survey. It's usually released in September. The last one that they released was last year. So I don't know if they're just running late this year or not doing it this year. But really interestingly, it shows that more than half of the people that are currently employed are thinking about starting their own business. That's where you're at, or at least going out and doing some consulting work, maybe even on the side. So I don't know where you sit on that. I don't know if you are already doing freelance and consulting work as you're listening to this, or if you're thinking about it and maybe working at a job at the moment. But it is a growing thing, and because of the events of the last 18 months or 2 years that we've been through, a lot more people are really considering this. Like, how can they, put their destiny together? And I know that during that time when people are more working from home and all of that, there was a little bit of a taste of that came. Some people really like that, being able to work from home and having that flexibility in their schedule. And so as employers, which I am one, you have to think about how can you give that flexibility to your employees and at the same time hold on to the best talent. So it is a really, really big time issue in the marketplace right now. And I do think that with more people flooding into the freelancing and flooding into consulting, if you already are a consultant or a freelancer, there's going to be more competition. So how do you stand out? And so I think it all goes back to marketing. Marketing of yourself, marketing of your products, marketing of your services, and being that at the top of mind for people. So I would love to hear from anybody who is jumping in now about what they're seeing in the marketplace. But I do think that this particular thing can be a huge benefit for those of us who see it clearly and understand it. So right now, I've been seeing in corporate America, at least, I've been seeing a lot of corporations thinking about ways that they can give more flexibility to their employees, and those corporations are going to do better than those that are just trying to get everybody back to the office. Like, let's get it back to the way it was. Let's just, kind of bring everybody back, and maybe we'll have a couple of, co-working days or something. That's not going to work that well. You're going to need to start thinking about how can you look at what each employee needs. So businesses, like smaller businesses, are also having issues, especially if you are a service type business, because you can basically do that type of work from anywhere. So if you are a small business, your employees may want to work from anywhere. They may say, "Hey, I'm moving to Nebraska. Can I still work for your company?" And then you have to think about how you're going to accomplish that, or if you can. And so there's a lot of things that go into that, by the way. When you have employees in other states, you have to register in those states, and you have to pay those states the workplace compensation. So there's a lot of little pieces of that make it hard. I use a tool called Gusto, which I can give you the link to. Just send me a quick message, but you can just search it up too. But it's Gusto, and they do my HR and my all of that, and they will actually pay those fees for me through my bank account, of course, and they will also file that paperwork on the quarterly basis that most states require, and so that's really helpful. But on the tax side, most also states will make you file as a foreign entity in that state. So if you have a small business, this is kind of difficult. I'm just going to put that out there. But people will ask you, can I work from another state? Can I continue to work for you from another state? And you got to think about how you're going to solve that problem. I'm hoping somebody out there that's listening now can solve that problem easily for small businesses, because that is something that I think maybe Gusto could even take on. But anyway, long story short, it is a lot of a thought about how you're going to make this work for your employees. Now, if you're a person that's in a job right now and you're thinking, I want to get out of this job, and you want to leave this job. So I've been there. So before I started my agency, which I started as a consultant, I was working as the director of communications for a trade association in Washington, D.C. And I had to think about how I was going to transition from being a full-time worker to a business owner. And I thought a lot about, hey, Nick, how are you doing? I thought a lot at the time about how to do that. I thought a lot about how to market myself, right? I spent a lot of time thinking about how to market myself. What is my positioning going to be? All of those marketing pieces. And that was amazing and a good idea. What I didn't know anything about was business and business processes. And those are like the Achilles heel of most business owners that have never owned a business before, because you have taxes and you have, all kinds of things that you've never really had to deal with, registering your business, and are you going to get a trademark for your name? And there's just a lot of pieces to the business side of things that you may not think about, right? So the marketing, in some ways, it's not easy by any means, but it's the thing I was the best at, right? So I was like, oh, I'll just put together my marketing, and it was so great. But then I learned very quickly about all the other parts of it that were a little bit harder. One of the best things that I did, if you do decide to step out on your own, is immediately open your own bank account for that business, and only put money in there. So definitely make sure you do that, because that's like the easy, like you can kind of fix everything later. But if you commingle the money, it's really hard to pull it apart and figure out how much you spent, and you're going to have some deductions that you leave on the table. There's just a lot of things that you need to make sure you do. And so one bank account is really, really important. And most of them you can open for, if you have $1,000 to put in it, you can. Okay. So Nick asked the question, can you convert the out-of-state employee to an independent contractor to avoid all the difficulties states put on the business you mentioned? Yes, you can do that, but here's the rub with that. If they've already been an employee and they continue to do the exact same work that they did before as a contractor, you are putting yourself in jeopardy of the of the government coming after you and saying, hey, that person is an employee. So usually if you move off to be a contractor, which I did, so when I left my job, what happened is they, in fact, I might even have that right here somewhere close by, but I was editing their magazine. It's just a part of my job. And then when I left, they said, hey, can you continue to just edit the magazine and nothing else? So you need to do a couple of things. Number one, you'll have to sign a contract with them that kind of shows that they're independent, meaning they can set their own schedule. They can decide how they want to work. You can't do it. You can't say, oh, you can't go on vacation. They have to be able to, you tell me like how you're going to accomplish this task. I give you the task as the employer, and then the contractor accomplishes it in the means that they want to accomplish it. Of course, we sign a contract and all those kinds of things. But the bottom line is that if your employee leaves you to become a independent contractor, they need to also be working for other people too. So that's the other kind of thing that the government will look at. Is this person only getting 1099 a year? And it's you, and you're basically monopolizing all their time. They might be an employee at that point. Is this person doing one thing for you? Like they only do your writing, or they only do your graphic design, or they only do whatever. That person has their own clientele. They may have their own website. They have their own, maybe they have a profile on Upwork. We were talking about Upwork. And so from that point of view, both if you're trying to think of being a contractor, and also if you are hiring contractors, you need to think about that. And yes, if you hire contractors, it doesn't matter from other states and other places. It really doesn't matter. You do need to report that you're hiring people from different states, and different states have different rules. And so that's why I use Gusto. And I just click the yes, notify the state, and they do. But for contractors, it doesn't matter. It absolutely is better. And in fact, if you pay them through a credit card or through Upwork and stuff like that, you don't even have to, give them a 1099. If you are working with Upwork or a service like that, it's like it's software as a service. You're paying Upwork and they're paying the contractor. And Upwork deals with all of those things with their contractors, like the things changing in the state. There was a bunch of changes to how contractors work in California about a year ago. And so Upwork dealt with all of that and told us exactly how it was going to go and what we needed to do. So working with a service helps a lot too, so that you don't miss something. But yes, you can definitely hire contractors, and I do. But for some of our accounts, like I have an agency, right? So some of my clients require me to carry certain amounts of insurance and certain amounts of workers' compensation for anybody who's working on the account. So if I have a client like that, which not everybody does, I have some regulated clients, then you have to have employees, because your employees have to do that work, because otherwise they have to carry the $4 million in insurance or whatever is required by that particular client. So there's a lot of little niggly things that you have to think about when you're putting together your company. But of course, if you have just, you're just trying to get a service done, yes, I would hire a contractor. So that's the kind of nice thing about contractors. The other thing you don't have to do with contractors is pay any of the self-employment tax or the employment tax, excuse me. They have to pay their own taxes. And you also don't pay them healthcare or any kind of benefits. So that is good for the business owner, maybe not so great for workers. So especially in the United States, where we don't have, like universal healthcare and things like that. I'm going to just say this. I think that that's actually a business problem for us. Like in the United States, I feel like we are competing against countries that do give that healthcare benefit. And so because of that, it's really hard for us to compete against them for that reason. So I do feel like that we are shooting ourselves in the foot in America by not having universal healthcare because of business reasons, like 100% capitalism. If we were smart, we would do that, because it'll make us much more competitive in the world, especially as a business owner. You wouldn't have to worry so much about having to come up with healthcare for all your workers, especially a small business owner. I do have healthcare for my workers that need it. And it's complicated. It's complicated to have it, carry it, do it. Again, Gusto helped me with that. Again, this is not an ad for Gusto, by the way. I didn't even put I do have an affiliate link for them. If you want it, I think it gives you $100 off or something. Anyway, the point is that Gusto is a great tool, and it's made it really possible for me to do all these things and not feel overwhelmed by them. So finding a good tool is great too. And again, I hire both contractors and I have employees. And my contractors I hire for very specific reasons. I have somebody that I just hired for just to write. She writes all the emails for like one of our clients right now, and then she's going to help me with some other emails. So she's going to be all about just writing emails. But if I hired her as an employee, I would have her be doing whole campaigns, pulling in. She has many more capabilities than just emails. But because she's a contractor, it's just better if you hire them for like one kind of main thing that they do. Then you won't get in trouble with the government for that, because that's, fair game. And if she goes out and, sells her service to other people, then that's great too, because she can then grow her business as well. And I like doing that. I like hiring people that are growing their business and helping them do the same. So that's something I really enjoy to do, is hiring contractors and really just giving them, being a really good client. I like being a really good client to my contractors so that they can grow as well. Cool. Let me see what else we have. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And so because of this great resignation, because of this sort of movement toward, people wanting to have some autonomy over what their life is like. As an employer, I have to look at ways to give my employees autonomy so that they can also do what they need. So I tell my employees all the time, the hours, like the time of days you work, like 9 to 5, doesn't really matter as much as having the things done that you need to have done. Right. So I've tried to give mine that. And also because of the way I've set up my company, we've always been 100% virtual. So everyone works from home. I give them an allowance for tech and that kind of thing. Buy them a new computer every couple of years. I mean, and they can keep that computer. So I try to give them a lot of a feeling of ownership, because I think that's really what people want. They want to do good work and feel like they're making a difference with their work and that things are going somewhere. And if you can give them that, they're going to stick with you. They're just going to stick with you. And I mean, not all of them will stick with you, but the ones that move on with like a great relationship with you, and they consistently will bring even more clients to you. I've had employees that have moved on and sent me new business. I mean, it's you just want to continuously grow the people around you and understand that people will move on, and not try to like stop them, but help them. And guess what? If you're that kind of employer, then you will draw amazing workers. They're going to want to work for you. They're going to sign up to work for you because they know that you take care of them and that you're going to do the right thing. And that's really important. Not only that you take care of them, but also that you give them what they need, like to feel like they're like making a difference in their job. It's simple as that. And most people, I mean, I'm going to take a real stab at this. In my experience, people will give you a lot of reasons for why they're quitting, but generally it's because that you're not providing something that they need, right? Generally, you're not providing something that they need. So that's why they will quit. It's as simple as that. And that's just how it tends to work with people. So, they are going to leave because they don't get some portion of what they need. And so as a manager, you want to give them as many of those things as you can. Now, sometimes people will move on because they do want to start their own business. They want to move on. They want to have their own, their own life like that. And you can't feel bad about that. But if you've done everything you can to help them not have to move on because you're a terrible person. I don't know. I just think, some bosses are just so micromanaging or abusive or whatever that people will leave. I mean, it is absolutely that kind of market. And right now it feels like, a lot of people were worried during, I think, the last couple of years that leaving their job means that they wouldn't be able to find a new one. But now people realize that they can leave their job, and if they don't find a new one, they can actually start their own. And I think that's a game changer. It's a game changer in what we're doing. And definitely, I'm excited about it because I've been talking to a lot of communications, marketing, and PR business owners that are doing consulting for clients, and I'm like been helping them think through all of these different things for their own businesses. And as we've been talking about it, it's been very interesting to hear the problems and the issues that people have. But I do believe that as a community, we're going to grow together. So again, there's going to be more competition in the marketplace. People are going to be doing the same thing you're doing if you're already consulting. So you want to stand out, but also you want to have a community. And it's okay if you're a community of competitors, because I guess there's a lot of all boats rise. When the water rises, all boats rise. I do believe in that concept. There's a lot of work out there. Most of us like specialize in specific things, and so I do believe that having a community like that is going to be really powerful. So anyway, I'm going to be building a community like that. So if you are one of those people, definitely DM me, because I'm about to start putting that together. We are going to be launching that in November. And so it's a very exciting time to be a part of that community. Next year, I'm going to be hosting a freelancer conference in Houston, and it's going to be national in US, but it's also virtual, so anybody can join in. But I'm very excited about what's possible in the next year or two as people do flock to the marketplace and think that they want to start their own company. How can we work together? So let me know if you're one of those people. I would love, love, love to connect with you and share information and ideas. So that is all. I'm going to jump off because I do not want to stand here forever and waste everyone's time for the day. So again, I think that the next couple of years are going to be a huge shift towards people being self-employed. And if you are interested in self-employment or working for self-employed people, I would love to talk to you. And definitely, if you're thinking about leaving your job, let me know, because I've been through that and I would love to give you a few tips and pointers. I put a link in the video caption that has a link to this new group that I'm starting. Make sure you click on that and definitely get on that mailing list so that I can keep in touch with you about what we're doing. And that is it. So thank you so much. Definitely the Great Resignation does not have to be a huge fear or problem. There's a lot of really cool things that we can do to make everybody's work life a lot more interesting and fun. And I do think the last couple of years has woken people up to the concept that we can, have some self-actualization, if you will, for our jobs, so that way, we can have our family life and we can have other things besides just work, that we can have a life that is meaningful and work that is meaningful and community that is meaningful. So come on, join me. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.